Welcome back to Get Down to Business, this show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. I've got a real treat in store for you. I'm thrilled to be joined by the CEO of Bang Productions, executive producer, entrepreneur, and thought leader in the entertainment industry. That is John Edmonds Kozma, who has changed how the comedy industry conducts business. Again, this is a unique kind of segment for us here. Bang Productions has been offering an entirely new approach to entertainment called the Micro Studio. We're going to talk all about finding a perfect audience and so much more. John Edmonds Kozma, thanks so much for joining us.
What's going on, Shalom? How you doing this morning?
I'm fantastic. It's great to have you on. I've been checking out some of your podcasts as well, Unimpressed podcast. And I got to say, I'm impressed. So I don't fall into that bucket. I'm very impressed with you and your background. And I'd like to start at the very beginning, John. Tell us a little bit about your background and how it led to launching the amazing work at Bang Productions.
Well, I was in television for several years in production, started music videos, and developed about 1,000 shows, and only sold 3. So one to USA Network and one to History Channel, and got kind of aggravated with the television industry and went to social media. And when I looked at social media and looked at the tools behind it, I said, I can create my own network, and just went to work. Was going to start developing shows, kind of using social at the time in 2016, but found a kid in Alabama. He was living in a trailer in the middle of Talladega National Forest. And we signed him July 24th, 2016, when I couldn't find a comedy manager to help me. They said he doesn't need a manager. He's 5-year development. So we went to work, and by discovery, we discovered this blueprint with social media with him, because he had a 90% female fan base. And I think we did, from signing him from the trailer, we did $600,000 in business from July to the end of that year in 2016, and then took him to Just for Laughs, the Super Bowl comedy, in 2 years from the trailer park with the model. And so we doubled down on that blueprint, built our own universe, and it changed how comedy did business.
I love it. I love it. And you're working with some pretty major brands, and it must be working because you are the subject matter expert in everything production, content distribution, and brand integration. And you describe yourself by helping save money and time by helping you focus on your target market, but also where Hollywood meets Silicon Valley, aka the Silicon of the South, entertainment through tech. And so I want to dive into that, because honestly, as my dad would always say, it's all widgets. You talk a lot about qualitative and quantitative data and getting it right. What's the secret sauce of Bang Productions?
Well, one thing I think people forgot about is law of attraction. And when you understand that social media emulates human behavior, right? So if you just take out the algorithm, and then the social platform emulates what a human does, when you start to understand that the algorithm, and you stay consistent against that algorithm, you can be very successful. Because what I heard in this world is the advertisers are very, very scared. The visibility is in social, but the big money is still in mainstream. So I knew whenever, the ad world can really understand the consistency, that money's going to move to the micro world of social. And I don't think it fully has went there yet, but I wanted to position myself to be the guy that kind of took elements of Silicon Valley, elements of Hollywood, and meshed them together, because I believe that's the future.
Absolutely, which is an amazing model. And I want to talk about some success stories. You have some pretty impressive names on your website, which we'll get our listeners to. But what do you do in sort of turning things around? Again, I know you have a lot of success. You have some pretty big names. What's a success story that you can share with our listeners?
Well, I think it's being able to birth or rebirth anything, and creating a pure source client, fan, customer. And you can do that with content. Because I'm writing a book called Finding a Perfect Audience. And I found out a way to eliminate unconscious bias because, when we're born, we bring a lineage to the table. We arrive in an environment, and obviously there's attributes within that drive someone down a certain path. But as you start to build, you got to understand that you're being programmed through your subconscious, right? And then later in life, you respond to things with your unconscious bias, which, depending on how the programming is, it eliminates you to get to consciousness, right? So if you apply that to content and you make content that's relatable, entertaining, and educational, and you shoot that out in a wide space, however that tone is conveyed by law of attraction without selling them anything, you can start building a pure source customer, fan, client, what have you. Does that make sense?
It does indeed. It does indeed. Again, I'm chatting with John Edmonds Kozma, who is the CEO of Bang Productions. Again, an executive producer, entrepreneur, and thought leader, and frankly, all around funny kind of guy. So again, as we've been talking about, you've made a radical change in cracking the code on creating celebrities without a Hollywood studio's backing. And the metrics really speak for themselves. You're talking about millions, in fact, even billions of followers and listeners and so on. What's your biggest accomplishment, John?
Biggest accomplishment. I mean, based on the blueprint we did with Darren, we became one of 30 companies in the world that's a Meta media partner, and we've been a Meta partner for about 4 years. I mean, there's Studio 71s in that group, which is a Mark Cuban company. And then this year, TikTok came looking at us, and we are now one of the first major U.S. agencies for TikTok's live creator network. So I think being able to do that kind of organically and authentically based on the work we've done, I think is a big deal for one guy and a small staff, to operate at that level using technology. So I would say that's probably a pretty big accomplishment.
That is a huge accomplishment, my friend. Absolutely. That's fantastic. So obviously we're having this conversation in the latter half of 2023. Can't believe it. We're at the end of July. Bang Productions has experienced some remarkable growth. Your platforms, John, the Unimpressed podcast and some other platforms that you have going on. I know you've been featured on NBC, ABC, CBS, and Vice News. Where do you anticipate things going, and what's sort of the landscape of the media market for our listeners, especially gearing this conversation towards small business owners?
I think you got to look at a la carte business, micro programming. I think this thing with TikTok, with their live programming, is micro TV development. And when I say, when I mentioned, your subconscious, unconscious bias, and consciousness before, these elements are kind of linear in society. If that makes sense, and applies to business as well, because I think businesses stay within their environment and try to appease their own environment, and they kind of miss what society is doing. So when you think about micro TV development with live content at TikTok, and then you look at, under 30, people do not want to pay for, Netflix for $14.99 a month. And this is going to be where people are going to go through the week and say, hey, I want to pay $1.99 on Tuesday for this. I want to pay $4.99 on Friday for this. And that's how a la carte programming is going to be. And I think a lot of businesses will be the same way, because that's what's playing out in society. And that was set up probably 10 years ago when they developed the apps that had the micro payments within the apps. That kind of put this mindset in the younger people at that time.
Absolutely. Again, been chatting with the one and only John Edmonds Kozma, CEO of Bang Productions, host of the Unimpressed podcast. The list goes on and on. John, I want to make sure our listeners can get in touch with you and your team. How can we do that?
You can reach me on my Instagram. It's John E. Kozma, Kozma, or Google John Edmonds Kozma, JohnEdmonds Kozma, or our website, company website, bangproductionstv.com. There's plenty of stuff there to find us.
And I can't wait to see that new book when it comes out. So be sure to let us know, and we'll bring you back on the program. What a great conversation! What a great bunch of information here on the show about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. Get on my website, syklein.com. We've got a lot more in store for you this week on the show, so don't touch that dial. Get on my website, syklein.com. Get on your favorite podcast app, subscribe, rate, review, and share. It makes it even easier for others to find the program. We'll be right back.